It might not be normal, but I wouldn't give it back. When I feel the bite of ginger on the back of my tongue, I know exactly what type of anger I mean. It has a color, too. This anger that's been simmering during the hours-long ride from Washington and bubbles up again as the bus starts to slow. It's the gray of spent coal shot with ink black and cinnamon. When I was little, we had a tomcat with fur just that color. A stray who showed up to lick some cream I'd spilled on the stoop and never left. He had 6 toes on each front paw, but only one eye, and his battle-scarred right ear was torn in 3 places. When I asked if I could keep him, a silly question because nobody can keep a cat, they come or they go, my father said, "Why? That's the most miserable cat I ever laid eyes on." The name stuck. So did the cat. Miserable lived under the steps that led to the alley. He wouldn't come inside, not even if you tempted him with tuna. But sometimes on a summer day, he'd lie on his back to soak in the sun, arms stretched high over his head, and let you rub his belly 3, 4, or even 5 times. And then, without warning, he'd collapse into himself like a jackknife snapping into a sheath and pierce your friendly hand with all 12 of his sharp little front claws, often drawing blood, then slink back under the porch with a hiss that said, "You should have known better." So maybe that explains the unusual color of this ginger-flavored fury? Because the anger of the moment is coupled with conviction that someday I will have my revenge on those who should have known better than to stand in my way, not by piercing them with my claws, but by proving them wrong. I should be making art, perfecting my technique, working toward the day when I'll see my work hanging in galleries or even museums. Instead, I've been banished to the mountains to babysit other people's paintings and sculptures for the duration of the war. The fact that my canvas and marble-carved charges are among the finest in the world offers some solace. Perhaps the talents of the masters still cling to the works they've left behind. Perhaps I'll breathe it in somehow, find inspiration by osmosis. But it's still a banishment, a grossly unfair one. My penance for the sin of rebuffing the advances of my married boss. The bus groans and squeaks and shudders to a stop. The driver calls out, "Asheville, Asheville, North Carolina. Next stop, Montreat." I jump to my feet, the only passenger to do so, palming the back of my head to make sure my blue hat is still pinned on, before pulling a leather portfolio of my paintings and a wheat-colored suitcase holding more brushes and tubes of paint than clothes down from the luggage rack. The mid-30s masher in the wrinkled suit, who was offended when I moved to another seat after jolting from sleep to find his hand on my knee, scowls and crosses his arms over his chest, making it clear he has no intention of helping. I lumber up the aisle, the suitcase bumping against my legs with every step, worried it's going to catch on my stockings, and wondering if I'll be able to find another pair if it does. The war is only days old, but already there's talk of hosiery being rationed to reserve silk and nylon for making parachutes. I stretch my arm out as far as I can to keep my bag from banging on my legs and get to the front of the bus without incident. The kindly driver, a man with salt and pepper hair and a heavy Baltimore accent that marks him as a native of my hometown, who has been at the wheel since Washington and told me he makes this same trip twice a week, takes my burdens from me, sets them onto the curb, then offers his hand as I descend the steps. "Thank you. Do you know where I can get a cab?" "Nobody's coming to meet you?" he asks. I pull a folded slip of paper from the pocket of my best blue jacket, now terribly wrinkled from the journey. "I've got an address for a boarding house on Flint Street." "Well, you won't find any cab."